Adriel, he's looking confident. He's looking comfortable.
Yeah.
Love to see that. And here we go. Game number 1. Adriel versus 40k Ban. Let's see what's going to happen. Drill coming in for Ban. And Bar Barrel. Perfect defense in response for Adriel.
And this right there is a perfect example of why we're seeing so much beatdown in the meta. Cycle cards, cycle win conditions, general, hog rider, miner, drill, they just get taken out so quick by that dagger Duchess. It's better to just make these massive pushes, stack these pushes in the same lane so the dagger runs out, or sort of the Duchess runs out of those daggers to be able to break through a lot more efficiently.
Yeah, one thing I really like about the Duchess is that it's forcing a bunch of players to completely change how they set up their pushes. It's keeping the game fresh because you can no longer just basically you're just always trying to overwhelm instead of doing split lane pushes, although sometimes you still have to go with the split lane pushes like we saw with Morton's Golem deck, where you have to try and get to not allow the fireball value. So I really like how the Duchess has forced just the evolution of players instead of just, you know, evolutions of cards.
That's a really good call out. Speaking of evolutions of cards and decks and players, we have a Evo Mortar Electro Giant deck here. I mean, I've seen a little bit of it for sure, but it's really interesting to see a double win condition Electro Giant deck. Although I think the Mortar is getting a lot of value so far here, especially one cycle away from the Evo, when Ben doesn't have a great way of dealing with it.
Yeah, and right here, we're seeing a lot of Executioner in the meta. What do you know why we're seeing so much Executioner? Just because it pairs well with the Duchess?
That's a good question. I think the biggest reason is because of or potentially because of the upsurge in Night Witch and also just beatdown decks in general. We see a lot of Giant Night Witch, Golem Night Witch. I've even seen Roll Giant Night Witch. So Electro Giant, Executioner is definitely the best counter to that. Here we have a Electro Giant with Evo Mortar Ops lane push though. I really like this push. The poison and the bomb tower really cleaned up fairly well though.
Yeah, right there, the Mortar evolution is going to be able to force out just 1 or 2 extra responses. We see the Ice Spirit right there. Good defense from Ban, and he should be able to get himself another bomb tower, and that's exactly what he does. Right there, we see the change in the Evo Skellies before it's going to be able to start surrounding and take out the E-Giant entirely. Nowadays, the Evo Skellies do absolutely nothing to the E-Giant.
Wow, and this offense was crazy by Adriel. Ban really defends quite well, though. I mean, the only damage that really came through there was a lightning on the right side tower, which is a solid amount of damage, but overall, this was a fantastic defense. The question, though, is how is Ban going to get damage, Josh? I mean, other than poison cycling, it seems like these drills are never connected.
Yeah, that's right. Adriel is going to try and just hold captive Ban's cards because he can just place everything in the back, go split lane pressure with E-Giant one lane, Mortar the other lane. And this lightning is also going to be really massive. Ban's just in a world of hurt right now. And that's actually a great situation for Adriel. It's going to allow him to collect a little bit more elixir to help out his push.
That's a good call on the lightning value for Adriel versus Executioner, the bomb tower and stuff like that. It's actually surprising to me that Ban is deciding to go same lane in this matchup. I think you've got to go ops lane so that these big E-Giant counter pushes can't allow for lightning value on your Executioners.
Yeah, now we head in 1 minute left in OT. 2238 to 1750, a 500 HP lead and no shot for the Mortar. This is going to be a decent push, but Ban should be able to get back to the bomb tower pretty easily.
Bomb tower not going to be used quite yet. There it is, bomb tower on the board, but I think the lightning can line up on absolutely everything here. But he looks like he's not going to lightning on the offense. He's going to just make sure these drills are never getting damage. And now the lightning drops, getting that very solid tower damage, over 300 damage on tower. And the pressure is continuing to mount in here from Adriel. He's just spamming the mortars, spamming the Electro Giants to the bridge, getting the lightnings down. And versus the drills, I mean, once again, bowler, a bar barrel here or there. These goblin drills are never connected.
Yeah, 10 seconds left. Should try and get one more Xe or one more lighting on top of the tower. That's exactly what he does. I mean, really, he has no chance, but I don't want to call it too early. With the help of the bar barrel, that's going to be game 1 for Adriel. A perfect game from him right there. E-Giant plus Bowler plus Mortar. I mean, what a deck for game number 1.
Solution right now, in my opinion, though, just because it really counters the Dagger Duchess. And here we go.
Yeah, that's right. Knight being not being allowed for ban in the future is going to be pretty massive. Game number 2, E-Spirit cycled on Adriel's side. I mean, I instantly want to say RG for both of these players. Is that what it's going to be? Wow. And right there, Adriel, huge mishap, missing the fireball right there. And because the Duchess is out of daggers, he's going to also have to respond to this Mother Witch. Rough situation for him.
Yeah, looks like it could be RG. It also feels like it really could be any beatdown card for ban here. And we see Recruits. So Recruits, double Witch with a Skeleton King. Crazy looking deck here. He's got the Battering Evo as well. Is Adriel going to be able to defend this? It doesn't seem like he has the right sort of deck to be able to deal with the Battering.
Yeah, right here. This is absolutely massive. And a lot of it comes down to one early mistake against a pro. Can you... I mean, it's just over just like that because of one missed fireball.
Yeah, I guess that's really what it comes down to. You're down 4 elixirs straight up. You went for the fireball, you missed. You had to play a Lumberjack. The Lumberjack gets no counterpush value versus the Dagger Duchess. We see Recruits, we see the Night Witch, we see the Battering of the Bridge. No building in Adriel's deck. He's got the Fisherman instead, and Fisherman is really not the card you want to have versus Royal Recruits.
Yeah, I think Adriel's biggest mistake, which it's hard to have a bigger mistake than a missed fireball 30 seconds into the game, is really defending that Mother Witch. I think he should have allowed the Mother Witch to get his dower down to 1,500, 1,700, whatever it would have been, and he would have had the elixir in hand. He would have been able to defend that first push. I really think that's a massive error from Adriel.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And we see him struggling to try and come back here, but the Inferno Dragon as well for the Royal Giant is really putting kibosh on things. And Recruits are probably the best counter to Recruits in the game, but the Fireball on defense, I mean, once again, it's just defense. You need to get damage here with only 35 seconds left, and that is just not going to happen.
One odd thing about the Ram Rider is that it feels like so many of the games, or not the Ram Rider, the Battle Ram, because of the way the Battle Ram looks with the Evo, I always think that it's the Ram Rider. With the Battle Ram, it feels like so often the game is already decided before you get that Evo Battle Ram up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Evo Battle Ram, when it was first coming out, I kind of seemed like it was going to be super OP. But, I mean, when it comes down to it, as long as you can stop that charge, it's really not that big of a deal.
The Inferno Dragon also would have provided a ton of value because I think Adriel only had the Archer Queen for air targeting units. So, I mean, we would have seen a ton of value. Not going to be able to witness it, though. And game number 3, Miner, Fire Spirit coming out from ban. Adriel going to be using Drill. Early log, how does he want to respond? He's going to have the help with the guards placed down on the map.
So we got a Miner control versus a Drill control here. One thing that we're going to see a lot when it comes to these cycle decks with Dagger Duchess in tow is we're going to see a lot of tanks placed to the bridge, maybe like the Knight or even the guards to just get the Dagger Duchess out of daggers before we see that win condition come in.
Yeah, and Ban, he is going to be running Evo Wall Breakers. Excited to see that. I don't know how strong they are right now in this meta. It's really difficult to get them to the tower with just how the meta is formed with the Tesla's guards. I mean, even just having Duchess as a tower, we're gonna have to see how Ban really wants to apply pressure throughout this game.
Yeah, especially since he doesn't have the tank that I was kind of talking about. I mean, I feel like you really need an Ice Golem or a Knight to play with these Miner control decks to get the Duchess out of daggers. I actually saw Muhammad Light recently using kind of as his main ladder deck, basically a Ghost Ice Golem Miner Poison deck, just to spam those Ice Golems at the bridge to get the Duchess out of daggers so that the Miner can go through and get damage as per usual.
Right there, gets the prediction on top of the Bomber. Is it going to matter? It will. Bomber not able to get any shots on top of the tower. Great response from Ban. And that's how you want to do it. Whenever the Evo Bomber is in cycle, you know your opponent is going to be trying to place that at the bridge, trying to get your tower from 2,700 down to 1,200 in 2.5 seconds. Great response from Ban to predict that.
And this is going back to what I was talking about. You have to always know when your opponent's Evo Bomber is in cycle. If you don't know, like you said, that means it's going to get so much damage. So really good job by Ban keeping track of that and always predicting with the cheap card of the bridge. Because if you predict with the cheap card, the Fire Spirit, then it's not a big deal if you do miss that prediction and the opponent doesn't play the Evo Bomber.
Yeah, right here, Bomber is going to be able to take out the wall breakers. Huge mishap for Ban. That can be a game ender right there to, just waste your evolution. And Ban's already going to be struggling on defense because he's always using this royal delivery. It feels like the goblins are always going to get 1 stab early or 3 stabs late. Right there, I wasn't counting, but that had to be at least 5 or 6 shots from the goblins.
Yeah, a lot of damage there, and it seemed like the prediction on the Evo Bomber was a good play from Ban there, but the Evo Bomber ends up actually distracting some of the Duchess's daggers and allows the drill to somehow get a nice connection. That's what you got to do. You always have to have something taking out the daggers here before you get that connection, so that the drill has potential to get that damage. That's exactly what he's done here.
Right there, Evo Tesla placed near the bridge so that way it can snipe the opposing Tesla. And because Ban does not have a big spell, it really feels like Adriel can take this opportunity and just go all in, cycle back and forth. Because how are you supposed to get past this Tesla?
That's a good point. I didn't even really realize it, but yeah, Ban not having the big spell, having the delivery instead, it means so focused on defense. But a lot of time these cycle matches, whoever's more aggressive is going to end up coming on top, and that is exactly what we're seeing here. The other big thing is, once again, the difference in the evolution of the Bomber and the Wall Breakers. Bomber being 1 cycle, always being a threat, whereas the Wall Breakers being 2 cycles and being easily taken out by, a Spirit plus Log or a Bomber plus Log.
And right there, Adriel deciding to go with the poison on top of the Little Prince, not really worried about the tower damage. He wants to make sure that Ban does not have a 3-card cycle. I really love that he chose to poison the Little Prince, even though most times every single player in the world is going to be thinking, hey, let me get a ton of damage. I want to try and win this now. Instead, he's going to allow the game to be over and lock up a win that way.
Yeah, I can't help but think that, Ban shaking his head here, I can't help but think maybe this is just a creation of the deck. Like, I feel like he needs a big spell in this deck. He needs the poison. I think he might have just forgotten to put it in since we are in the out of games duels here. And that is going to give Adriel a perfect situation to come and win this game, snatch it. And GG's to Adriel all around.
Order version, but then Rolex was the only person I think that we've seen today so far play Lava Hound. Any thoughts on going heavy beatdown here with Lava again for Rolex before we say goodbye to you?
I think that it could be a good option, but the reason why you want to be a little bit scared of doing something like that is the Electro Giant decks that we've seen do counter it very well. But that being said, after seeing Barbs, that might be what we're going to be seeing. Enjoy the cast, boys.
All right, AC, here we go. Barbs out again. Evo Barbs really kind of climbed up in that whole conversation of what the best evolutions in the game are. Felt like they disappeared for a little while, and now it seems like they're back in the SA tier conversation. Any thoughts on that for you? It feels like Bomber is far and away the #1 Evo. What do you think about Barbs in this conversation?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I would expect Barbs to not really be good based off the meta because Bomber is so good, Drill is so good, Tesla is so good, and it just doesn't really match up well. We see Rolex shake his head because of a missed NATO, and this is a terrible start for him right here. Adriel might be able to take the tower entirely,
easy.
and wow, a huge misstep right there. Rolex taking, his entire tower going down right there. But yeah, very excited to see the Barbs back in the meta. Rolex going to be running Golem. Adriel going to be running the no air targeting unit Bomber Drill deck, which is it's going to have a pretty easy time. Well, not easy because Golem is just difficult to defend always, but definitely a solid time defending that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see as this goes on. You see there the poison comes out for that pump, right? So now the idea here is if I can get a good Golem push with the heal or a battle healer and that E-Dragon, then it becomes a very difficult thing for my opponent to get on top of that. Then the opponent overspends on trying to take care of the E-Drag, and then that's when you let go of those Evo Barbs, the opposite lanes. So while Adriel is in a very strong lead here, and a big part of that comes from a miss NATO, I don't think this conversation is quite over yet, and that's actually going to work out really, really well. Poison comes in with that death damage from the Mighty Miner, and about as clean as a defense as you can get here from Adriel.
Yeah, not even able to take the goblins off of the map. Right here, Tesla in tow with the help of the Evo Bomber. That's going to be a dead Little Prince. Very solid defense right here. We could see him pop the ability in the NATO and then poison, and that is what we're going to see. But he does miss the ability use. This could be a push.
Yeah, he needs to make sure that that's actually the best thing that could have happened, was making sure that battle healer did not start to heal up that E-Dragon. Looked like there for a moment, you could see Rolex finally kind of lost that little bit of enthusiasm he had in that final push there. It looked like that E-Drag could cause a lot of problems. Battle healer behind, but Evo Tesla comes in. I think Evo Tesla is one of the most fascinating cards to be
real, but going with the NATO right there, just it feels like that can never be the play that you're supposed to make.
It's a really good point that you make there about just like how quickly that game started to fall in Rolex's favor once we got into double elixir. And again, when you talk about the deck that Adriel was playing and abilities to get on top of those E-Dragons, if all you have is a poison and a Mighty Miner Death Bomb or an Evo Tesla, I feel like you can really create a lot of damage, but you just got to kind of hold pause for a little bit. So now Adriel looks like he could be going to the skies, guards and Skelly Drags out early. Rolex on the other side of it, archers, guards, and Rage could be seeing some RG. And there it is.
RG from Rolex. Adriel going to be running the Inferno Dragon Lava variation. So sometimes it's going to be running the Mega Minion plus the Lava and Valk. Sometimes you're going to be running... I've seen this. I would believe it's going to be with the Evo Bomber, and if so, this is a really good matchup. Inferno Dragon always gets so much value against the RG decks.
Those guards, I think, are played too far away. Yeah, and there you go. Inferno back around on top of tower. No elixir in the tank. Tower down, and wow, what an opening for Adriel once again. Back-to-back games, under 2 minutes, tower down. Beautiful plays from him, and just levels, man. We always talk about how there's levels to this game, and we could see it. Just mistake after mistake. While they may be small, they are still massive in terms of how this game is going to unfold. And right there you saw the guards don't pull the Inferno the way that they're supposed to. Then you have to spend more. You have to rage up your own tower so you can get back around to your archers. Archers get fireballed off the board. You miss the pull again. Inferno tanks for your lava. And I mean, I don't think you can make two mistakes that big that early.
Yeah, it's when you have RG going against Lava, it really requires you to play a perfect game, and it's not impossible either. It's not the most difficult matchup in the world per se, just because you can get the RGs on tower with an Inferno Dragon out of cycle. It's certainly possible, but actually now that I'm looking at it, Rolex is using a very specific kind of deck. Only has the archers, which can always get fireballed off the field. This is just one of those decks where, hey, if I go against Lava, I lose, and he happened to go against Lava.
He absolutely did. Going to be a 3 crown here. Adriel looking just like he did when he won matches at World Finals, when he lost matches at World Finals. Talk about singing Hasael's praises. These are the win conditions that he's ran throughout the day, and then I'll get out of here, which is Battle Ram, Evo Bomber, Evo Battle Ram, and then he goes Giant GY, then he goes Royal Hogs, Firecracker, then he goes Loon, XE NATO, and then he goes to Bomber Drill. So he's been incredibly versatile. I'll let you boys take this away in our upper bracket semis.
Yeah, and here's some more versatility here coming out with the RG this time. Adriel with the Evo Zap, Evo Valk, most likely going to be Goblin Drill with that as well. Josh, what are your thoughts on this matchup based on what you're seeing right now?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Executioner back inside the meta, used by Adriel down below. Executioner definitely makes it very interesting, and it always is really, it's really fun going into a game without knowing what the matchup percentage is, because I'm not often seeing the Exi get played. I don't really know how a lot of these matchups get played out. So I would assume that Adriel, because he can use the cannon, the Valk, the poison, he should be able to defend again and again.
Yeah.
But Hasiel's deck, using the Tesla with the RG, you have overwhelming offense with the RG and overwhelming defense with the Tesla. I like this choice from Hasiel.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think the other big thing to watch out for is this Fisherman. If this Fisherman has the chance to really lock onto an Executioner, it has the potential to get a lot of value, be able to break through. But at the same time, it's going to be really tough to break through the guards, I think, from Adriel here, because the Barbarian Barrel plus Electro Spirit does no longer kill guards after the shield buff they got a few months ago.
Yeah, and right there, Evo Zap cycled on top of the Ghost. Pretty interesting use of the Evo Zap right there, but I would assume it's pretty good because now the cannon's still going to be pretty healthy. Everything is still doing all right. And now with the Executioner, it does get sniped. This is exactly what you were worried about. Let's see if he's going to be able to defend. This is a lot going down the lane.
Guards, like I was also talking about, getting a lot of value on the right side, but now there's no guards for the left side. The NATO is, though, so the NATO is going to try and prevent this damage, and I really like the Zap there, actually. Zap barely keeping the Executioner alive, at least stopping one more RG shot, but Hasiel starting off with the damage lead here. I mean, I say starting off, we're already well into this game, but, I mean, it just seems like that was the first solid amount of damage we've seen. I mean, Adriel hasn't even used his win condition yet.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. You'd have to assume the way this deck is set up that it's going to be drilled, but you would also assume that it would have already been played. So we could be seeing Graveyard from him.
That's a good call.
That's the only thing that really makes sense at this point. But yeah, we're still just waiting almost into triple elixir, and we still haven't seen the win condition from Adriel.
Adriel going to Execution in the back towards the Evo Royal Giant. Once again, just gotta watch out for the Fisherman to pull there. Maybe Adriel will use the cannon to try and predict the Fish Boy. Cannon could have been good there, but he plays it low to set up for the defense instead. I mean, I don't mind this solid play. I mean, it can be scary to try and make risky predictions like that.
Yeah, for sure. And right there, Valk Graveyard at the bridge, but with the Tesla in hand plus the E-Spirit, we're not going to be seeing a lot of damage, but it does get the tower pretty low, 2354 to 2176 now, and a really cool fireball. It does two things. You're getting the damage, but you're also pushing the Executioner to the opposite lane. So I love that play from Hasiel.
Guards once again being the main damage dealer on the defense. Here comes another Graveyard, but the Dagger Duchess has a full clip of daggers here. So the defense won't be too difficult. The poison, though, getting a lot of value. 20 seconds left on the clock, and Adriel is spamming at the bridge, trying to suck it back to the next Graveyard, and there it is.
Yeah, that might be game over. The fact that he had to use the fireball on defense, he's only, I mean, with the help of the Zap plus the NATO, it doesn't even matter if he defends this. I don't think the fireball is going to do enough. It won't. The help of the Evo Zap will take out the tower. Adriel taking game number 1. Not a single Graveyard till triple elixir. He knew he had plenty of time. He got the pushes in finally, and it really is interesting to, I mean, it's such a small buff and such a huge buff at the same time. It's crazy how one singular buff or nerf can completely take a card out of just out of contention to be used whatsoever, and the guards getting that small tiny buff of the shields getting more health just makes Barbell just not really useful in a lot of situations.
Looking at the decks for game number 2, looks like Adriel's the one using Royal Giant this time, and Hasiel going back to some Evo, Battle Ram. Maybe we'll see recruits, maybe we'll see P.E.K.K.A make its debut here for the Clash Royale League. I don't think we've had a single P.E.K.K.A Bridge Gem yet. Be interesting to see, but Adriel with the Fisherman and the Tesla for defense. I like this decision.
Yeah, he is going to be able to defend pretty easily, and then once it hits that double elixir, triple elixir, that's when it starts to get scary. See if Asael can set up the correct pushes right there. Choosing to go with the battle ram going into the left side. Fisherman is going to be able to clean this up very nicely, especially pulling it so that both towers can hit it.
I like how Hasiel is keeping his evolutions paired right now. If you guys notice, every time Hasiel plays a Zap, he also plays the Evo Battle Ram. That's because he wants to have the Evo Battle Ram and Evo Zap in cycle at the same time to pair them together. And I think that's such an underrated thing that we don't talk about enough. If you can have two evolutions that synergize decently, rolling down a lane at the same time, it can be extremely difficult to defend.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought that up because that's kind of a question that's been on my mind for a while. If you have multiple evolutions that pair well together, do you want to try and stagger them or try and keep them together? So if they don't kind of coincide with each other, it's more okay to stagger them instead of playing them at the same time, in your opinion?
So that's a good question. I think with cycle decks, you just want to play them as much as possible. So staggering or together, I think you're just always trying to cycle to the evolution. But when you're using a heavy deck like Hasiel here, you really have only one chance every so often, every 3 minutes apparently, where you get to play them both at the same time.
Wow, and great defense right there on the left side. Archer Queen still staying alive. Probably not going to be able to activate the ability again, and yeah, it does get taken off the map, but great defense from Adriel. And I mean, his left tower is slightly touched. The right tower, basically, I think the tower starts at 3204, so I think it's untouched over there. Just great defense from Adriel so far. I mean, we're hitting OT, and he's just controlling how this game has gone.
Speaking of controlling when your evolution is in cycle, I really like how Adriel made it so that he had his Evo Tesla in hand when Hasiel had his Evo Battle Ram on the board, because that was able to defend it so easily. Now this defense doesn't look so easy on the other end of things because the Evo Zap is in tow, but I mean he made it look easy. I was wrong.
Yeah, he made it look extremely simple right there. Does he get the ghost off in time? He does. I mean, every single play he's making is just in time. Correct placement, correct lineup. It is spectacular to see this on the biggest stage. It's slightly easier to see it on ladder. I mean, that is also one of the things, the difference between playing ladder and competitive. If you can do it on ladder, that's great. You know, you can finish top 20, top 15, top 10 in the world. That's fantastic. But can you do it when the lights are brightest? Some players can, some players can't. Adriel clearly can't.
Yeah, I mean, he is stone cold right now. His defense is on point. Even there, he just sets up the Evo Tesla on defense. It's another Tesla in cycle. He says, I'm up damage. You do not have a big spell. I'm going to defend for the rest of this game. I got a Fisherman, I got a Tesla, I got the Archer Queen, and I got two very solid spells to take out any sort of glass cannon that you put on the map.
Yeah, and so it's clear that his last card is going to be RG. I also think it's kind of clear that we're probably just not going to be seeing it placed on the board. That's exactly what you want to do in these matchups. You're going to give way too much value to the P.E.K.K.A.s. I love that he hasn't used that card yet.
And just look at this Evo Battle Ram. I mean, it just looks so sad, dying immediately without having any value after it's taking so long to cycle back to it. Adriel, once again, no RGs, just all defense. The Fisherman, the Tesla. I mean, the Evo Zap arrows is a final-ditch effort to try and get a inkling of damage. And Adriel wins the game without playing his win condition. Just solid defense, a few spells here and there, a couple connections from the Ghost. That's all it took. GG's.
I mean,
life to give still. If he wins in this first one, it's over. But if Mohamed Light wins the first one, we reset and go again. And Mohamed Light then will play a super grand final against Adriel. Let's start things off here. Game number 1. Adriel, top of your screen, Mohamed Light at the bottom.
Yeah, Adriel comes out with a firecracker here early on in our very first grand finals of the year. Could be a super grand. We'll find out. That's what Mohamed Light wants. But right now, Evo Bomber plus the Little Prince. Adriel probably a little happy to see this monk come out, as he does take some damage there.
And first 45 away. Mo starting to really load up at the bridge here.
I mean, that's just a huge mistake from Adriel. I know it feels kind of small, but just like the wasting of that elixir when you have this big push coming in, not even getting across the bridge just to get that damage in, it's brutal to deal with. And now, while it's a decent cleanup here, that Phoenix egg, and you can see Adriel's already panicking about it. How's he going to deal with it? Well, we're already on our way to a bracket reset, Rich.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Such a small, seemingly small thing. But as you said, that extra elixir, the big push coming down, and Adriel just has to regroup and prepare for the next one.
This is the thing about Dagger Duchess. We've seen this so many times. When you make a mistake in single elixir against an opponent who can tell how big that mistake is, you basically insta-lose the game. Now, you got a 5 elixir card with an ability that comes in. It's your ground tank, and none of those things actually happen. It doesn't get the ability in. It does waste the elixir, and your ground tank is out of cycle. How do you come back from it?
Well, you throw a YOLO hog at the bridge and try to get on tower. The Guardian saying, no, sir, no, thank you. We are going to our next game and doing it quickly.
Yeah, and great job there by Mo, just going, all right, what's the best way to deal with this? Let me get my little prince on the board. Good counter push if I need it. 3-card cycle back in play. Take a little bit of damage, keep a lot of elixir. And, oh, man, I'm already feeling worse about that Adriel pick.
Yeah, me too. But I had to do it for content. Content, bro.
Gotta do it for the content. As Mohamed Light, I mean, if he does pull off another lower bracket run, I'm happy to be here for it. I'm thinking about when you need to just eat damage, and it's going to be eating a lot more damage than you used to, right? You're like, oh, I'll take a couple hundred damage here. Well, maybe you need to take half your tower's worth of damage to even out and then stay in the game. Because losing half a tower, obviously a lot better than losing the whole tower, but those decisions are literally the difference of that conversation. Is it half a tower? Is it a whole tower? It's a 2 elixir decision that you're making. So here we go into game number 2. Mo Light going back to the deck that has evolved throughout the day, and I love it. I love that he decided to swap the little prince in to other decks to make it more impactful, and he realized the AQ could fill this slot in this deck he created and still be just as dominant.
Well, this is why the regular duels, the non-in-game duels, are so vital for competitive Clash Royale, right? Is otherwise, if we're seeing Mo run this deck, we're seeing him just run the same version of it and run into other deck creation problems. We're seeing it gets stuck, maybe kind of mired in the muck here, but the flexibility allows him to have that creativity and make those applications.
Royal Giant coming down here in the back. A lot of Royal Giant here today. A little bit more than I would have expected. I expected to see some, but I think Royal Giant has been close to the most popular win condition of the day.
It has most certainly been up there. Lightning take the queen off the board, but won't get to the Tesla. Doesn't matter. Oh, for a second there, it looked like the Royal Giant would get pushed around the Ice Golem. Mass not an issue there, though, and the Tesla able to hold. Either way, we are fairly close, Andrew, with 2864 on the top right-hand tower for Adriel and 2887 on that bottom left for Mohamed.
Yeah, and this is still a situation where Adriel could close this out and become our first golden ticket holder of 2024 if he just is able to turn this in the next game around, which is, you know, a lot easier said than done when you talk about playing against Mohamed Light. Uses the rage to clean up the Evo Skellies. Little Prince still doesn't get on tower. That Evo Tesla just putting in so much work for Momo.
And recruits to make the bridge play, and now a little bit more to take care of that miner, as you talked about earlier, getting all those extra shots because the daggers are depleted. Minute 45 left, and Adriel has not figured out the second level math yet, but he is keeping it tight, at least for the moment.
Yeah, Adriel really just trying to think about how he's going to break on through, because he ends up having to keep spending a little bit more than he wants defensively because of the timing of the miner from Mohamed Light. And then the other side of it is like that lightning needs to be available for the AQ plus the Tesla. All of those things coming together and having the elixir to do all of it is pretty impossible. And then also the timing of getting that rage down on top of those Evo Skellies that Mo always seems to have in play. And this, you know, again, goes back to Juicy and Josh talking before about like, well, when you have two Evos like RG and Royal Recruits that coincide perfectly together, you need them together, as opposed to what we're seeing on the other side, which is faster cycle, get as many Evo Teslas down, get as many skeletons as you can out.
It does feel like Adriel has to find another solution for the Archer Queen, which he might be doing here, so the Lightning can go to work on the offensive side of things. And there you go. Lightning does get through. Log to hold. RG does get two shots.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that is a huge second shot there. There's the Lightning cycle, and now Mohamed Light already finds himself in a very, very tough spot. That's the thing about cycling Lightning, is he knows he's not back around to AQ yet. He can get there quickly. There she is. 3 cards come down. But now that you're in triple elixir and you have LP, Goblins, and Rage, you can also get back to that Lightning again. So Adriel doing a really, really good job of staying calm, poised throughout this entire matchup, and just getting one good RG connection at the end. That's all he needed to do.
And that was just very smart play out of Adriel, making sure that the Queen didn't open the game up too much early at the right time. As we were talking, just as we were talking about, Andrew, got to use the Lightning to break through and handle the Queen a little different way, and that adjustment gets the win. And now we're going to Game 3 with golden ticket World Finals point for Adriel.
Feeling the pressure just a little bit, and this is one of those situations where you feel like Adriel's got to be feeling it just a bit more. Golden ticket on the line, a lot of money on the line, whereas I'm sure Mo in his mind feels like both those things are kind of secured. He's already the winningest Clash Royale player in history in terms of prize money, and then you talk about him making it to World Finals in 2024, and it feels like a no-brainer.
So Mo looking like control here with the Executioner. Expect a NATO in this one as well. And it looks like both players going with sort of the more conservative control deck options.
Yeah, Xy's in both directions, which I think is good. There's still opportunities for a lot of those big beatdown decks that are out there in the world. So I think Xy's a really, really good call there with NATO. And you see both of them getting a good amount of ways to get on top of the drill, whether it's the Goblins or that Dark Prince.
And Mohamed Light has not run Executioner yet today. This is a first appearance for the Axeman on Mo Light's side. And Adriel has done some today, but it was in, I believe, that funky graveyard deck that we saw earlier.
And this Xy should line up for a shot. No, it doesn't. Still on the Knight. Wasn't sure if it was going to retarget to the Dark Prince there, but fortunately for Adriel, it did not. Still down a couple hundred HP.
And action slowing down a bit. Stakes are high for both of these players. And first drill out for Mohamed as we pass the midway point of regulation time.
It'll be interesting to see if that Dark Prince causes many problems for Mohamed Light. He doesn't have a lot of great ways to kind of keep that Dark Prince at bay other than the Knight. I don't know if that's actually going to be a factor or not, as this graveyard does come down.
And plenty on there to cover that up. Just one little skeleton touch, I believe. Not much to show for that graveyard out of Adriel. And now Mo starting to put the pressure on here at the bridge.
And that was a great predictive poison there from Adriel. He knew those Evo Bats were going to come down. He got that poison down almost before Mo even got the bats down. Really, really nice stuff there. And that's, another part of just things you have to keep track of is those Evos and knowing how brutal they can be and how quickly, like those Evo Bats are some of my favorite cards in the game just because of how strong they can be. But if you deal with them immediately, they're, useless.
And that Knight was gorgeous from Adriel to pull the opposing Knight back in line so that his Executioner could get value on both. Very nicely done.
And this is really interesting because the Dagger Duchess, since she does run out of daggers, you see how much more you have to spend defensively to clean up all those skeletons, and then you're always giving good poison values. So good poison value there from Adriel. Does get on top of the Knight, does get on top of those Goblins, gets a little bit of damage from that GY, 2388 to 2737, and it feels like Mo is the one that's going to have to make more heads-up plays than Adriel.
And you see the lane switch here. Graveyard should get a little bit of damage on tower left-hand lane. Adriel needs to find a solution. Goes NATO, Dark Prince to control high. Doesn't really get much of anything out of that Graveyard play in the lane switch, but keep an eye on that one. Graveyard can definitely change a lot. What a cheeky NATO out of Mohamed Light.
Yeah.
And just like that, we're resetting this bracket.
too much was spent, sure, and then you drop away from it. I think exactly what you're saying, Rich. I think there's so much pressure that comes off of your shoulders. You've gone from the best in the world to, I guess, essentially hitting rock bottom, in quotes, if we're talking about Mohamed Light, which is getting eliminated before like the last 3 people in World Finals. I think it has taken a lot of pressure off of his shoulders, and you see it with the way that he's playing. Maybe we're entering the bad boy phase of Mohamed Light, and I'm so here for it.
So here we go. Game final. The championship. There is no reset here. This is the reset. Winner gets the golden ticket. Loser has to come back again next month and try to make it happen. Of course, we know that Mohamed Light will likely be here every single month, no matter how many golden tickets he's able to take down.
Yeah, he's a guy that just, no matter what, seems to qualify, seems to dominate. I mean, he's always going to make top 1,000 ladder, even if he's not trying. And when you look at what he does in the qualifier stage, it's just, it's unbelievable. And just like the last couple of years have been, when you talk about Mohamed Light, it feels like we are just, you know, a broken record with this guy's accolades and how impressive he is. But, you know, do one better, and we'll talk about you instead.
And I believe we have World Cyber Games champion and Team Liquid CRL Season 1 member, Juicy J, on the call with us. A three-way for this one. And Juicy, talk to me about the deck choices here after we just saw Mo go hard with it on the last one. Adriel looking to follow suit.
I mean, this is just a classic drill mirror matchup. I love this. I mean, this matchup is all about who's going to have the better micro decisions, the better micro plays, who's going to stop that one goblin from the drill from hitting the tower, who's going to get the evil berries on the tower, who's going to get the predictions on the evil bomber. I mean, this is perfect. I love to see it.
And a great catch there for exactly what Juicy was just talking about. That Evo Bomber, that has to be the thing you are tracking more than anything. One in, one off, one in, one off. Every single time you see that bomber come down, you have to expect it to come back at the bridge, because that cycle with an Ice Spirit, a Log, and a Goblins can happen so quickly that they're back to an Evo Bomber.
And final 40 seconds of regulation time. So far, so good for Adriel, who has the slight lead, 28-43 to 29-05. Pretty even in damage, pretty even in elixir, and pretty similar in cycle at this stage. This is mirror match-ish. I don't know if we're all the way down to the exact same 8, but likely we are. And Juicy, as you take your time kind of looking at this one, what do you think's going to decide this mirror between these two?
Honestly, I think the thing that's going to be the decision maker is who's going to manage the 3-card cycle better. No Mighty Miner ability here. That would have been a massive amount of damage.
And you saw him start it too. It just, he died just in time.
But yeah, I think really it's going to be like this right now. Mohamed Light plays the Mighty Miner in the back, and Adriel plays his Mighty Miner at the bridge. I think the Mighty Miner in the back is better, because Mohamed Light's 3-card cycle will be active for longer.
That Ice Spirit to protect pretty good, but Log back around from Mo Light.
Final minute 40 remaining, sudden death overtime, and this has all the feelings of going to a lowest single tower situation. No NATO for a tricky move here, and you have to imagine Adriel's going to be a bit more conservative than he was in our game 3 of our previous matchup.
And that high Mighty Miner comes out, Bomber goes down in the back. Adriel doing a good job of tracking that, even though Mo started off with getting more damage from poisons early on and Adriel started his poisons much later. It feels like he's actually doing a really good job of staying ahead here. And now we just see a straight naked poison from Mo Light. Bomber, Evo Bomber back in cycle for Mo as well, and there you go.
And Tesla just trying to make sure that Evo Bomber stays focused on the middle of the board. Log to clear, but Mohamed Light does take the lead as those goblins get out of the drill and do a significant amount of damage. And just like that, the Pharaoh in the lead.
Yeah, and that's a big mistake there by Adriel. He goes too high with the Bomber. Now the Tesla's able to take care of the Bomber and that Mighty Miner.
Little early on the Log from Mohamed, though, has the Ice Spirit needing to come out to work against it. Final 30 seconds. Juicy, can Adriel get this one back, or is this all Mo?
I don't think he's going to be able to. Mo's got the Mighty Miner on the board. Adriel does not. That means more poisons, more drills. We got a Venn diagram poison right here. It's going to absolutely destroy this tower, bring it all the way down. And here comes another Venn No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that is going to be the game. Mohamed Light like I said, managing that 3-card cycle very efficiently, keeping his Mighty Miner on the board longer, and allowing for this triple elixir drill, poison, drill, poison, drill, poison. It's relentless.
And now
that my opponent is in, or I just took damage, now I want to give damage. Either of those mentalities, maybe not the best way for Adriel, because those Mighty Miners at the bridge, it felt like he was trying to make back some missed damage, as opposed to, again, like we said, just playing this long game.
a little bit of cycle from both players to open up. Mohamed Light with golden ticket point, and Adriel going hog here one more time.
I know we've seen it win a couple times today. I still am just like, I don't think this is the play. I really don't think hog is the way to go right now, but you know, they're there and I'm here for a reason.
Got to expect that there's going to be a monk in this one, and of course, we saw Mohamed Light win that matchup in their previous meeting a few minutes ago. That was, of course, with the Giant Night Witch deck rather than this Royal Giant deck, but we'll see. Oh, Goblin Giant. All right, well, color me wrong. Juice, Goblin Giant versus Hog Rider. Was that what you expected to see as the golden ticket game?
Definitely not. I mean, Hog Rider, like Andrew said, kind of strange. Mohamed Light does have some solid counters to it with the Fisherman as well. I do like Adriel's Zap here, though. Maybe the Evo Zap, especially against the bats here, could get some solid value. I'm trying to think of a way Adriel really wins this. It's probably just going to come down to the previous Hog Monk match that we saw. He needs to get a perfect Monk plus Hog Rider with the evolutions in cycle. Monk absorbing the Dagger Duchess with the 3-card cycle. If he can get that happen, I think it's very possible for him to win this.
Yeah, and you can see right there that he knew that he wanted to keep this monk on the board. Adriel did, which is why he spent so much to clean all that up instead of just turning on the ability from the monk. Gets a little bit of damage out of it, and he misses the Earthquake. Wow. That was just a straight up miss.
And oh boy, here comes everything down the opposite direction. Little Prince in the middle, Goblin Giant behind the Evo Knight, which takes all of those daggers. And look at this, Mohamed Light saying, hey, you're going to do all of that? Well, here comes everything. Can he take this spam and take advantage of the Duchess being down? No. What a defense by Adriel.
Yeah, that Fire Spirit had to be absolutely perfect, or else that probably was going to be the game right there. And that was absolutely perfectly placed, perfectly timed, game saving there.
So now that we're a little bit deeper into this one, you know, Juicy, the conventional wisdom has been that there's no place in this meta for a Hog Rider. We did see it win against Mohamed Light earlier with the Monk in tow. And we have this funky Goblin Giant beatdown deck with the Mini P.E.K.K.A. in there as well. What do you think as we are entering into sudden death overtime?
It's tough to say. I would definitely say that Adriel has a pretty solid matchup just because with solid defense, he should be able to win this, even if he has to Earthquake cycle. But one mistake really is all it takes. I mean, these Fire Spirits have been on point from Adriel so far, but just one misplayed Fire Spirit and the bats taking him out could mean major trouble.
And that was 3 in a row. That was 3 exceptional Fire Spirits in a row. One that we were talking about that was defense saving. The second one was predicted on top of bats as the last monk crossed the bridge, and the one we just saw again defensively. But Mo's doing what Mo does. He's started to realize, okay, if you're going to send a monk across the bridge and activate the ability, I need to get that Mini P.E.K.K.A. up high. But that means that I have to deal with the Hog down low, so I'm going to get the Fisherman out in the middle of the map. So now with Mo sequencing his defenses, Adriel needs to match that in kind with kind of evolving his offenses.
1854 to 2695, the two lowest towers so far. And now an early monk ability to get the Little Prince out of the way and tank the Guardian as well. Triple Elixir, final minute in tow, and a very interesting Evo Zap there at the bridge.
Yeah, he's just trying to stop the bats, I guess, from doing too much against the monk, but the monk was kind of out of play already, so I'm not exactly sure what that was.
Bomb tower down, Monk going for the reflection, Evo Firecracker crosswise along the bridge trying to clean up those bats. Guards will hold in the middle. This is what we were talking about earlier, right? Was using the guards to pull just a little bit. But this Evo Knight's gonna get some real damage. No, bomb tower down in the last second. 30 seconds left. This is chaos.
Oh my gosh, I mean, and what is Adriel gonna do here? Pull away on the Monk there, a great Fire Spirit, but you got a Goblin Giant on your tower. It should be able to get some damage in, and just enough damage. He's gonna be able to get back to another Fireball. This is absolutely insane.
It was the Evo Zap. Hog gets a very important shot. So does Little Prince.
The Guardian
down. Bomb tower to pick up. Fireball in. Have to hold the Guardian here.
Oh, the Guardian!
If you are... No, he can't hold it!
Oh my
He
gosh!
can't hold it! And Mohamed Light wins in the final seconds. He's going to World Finals once again.
Oh my gosh, that relentless pressure at the bridge. Adriel was holding on for his dear life for as long as he could. And honestly, I think the mistake was the offensive EQ. He got the hog hit in. I think he could have played defense juicy.